I swear, or affirm, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs and successors, and that I will faithfully observe the laws of Canada, including the Constitution, which recognizes and affirms the Aboriginal and treaty rights of First Nations, Inuit and Métis peoples, and fulfill my duties as a Canadian citizen. Understanding the Oath. Canada, we promise loyalty to an individual who represents all the Canadians, King Charles III, rather than to a piece of writing like a constitution, a symbol like a flag, or a nation-state. These components are included in our constitutional monarchy, where the sovereign queen or king is in charge. Canada is represented by the sovereign, and the sovereign is personified by Canada. Canada has a constitution and a monarch, so Canada is a constitutional monarchy. The King is the Canada's head of state. Canada is a constitutional monarchy, a parliamentary democracy, and a federal state. Canadians are bound together by a shared commitment to the rule of law and to the institutions of parliamentary government. Magna Carta was signed in 1215 in England, also known as the Great Charter of Freedoms, includes freedom of conscience and religion, freedom of thought, belief, opinion and expression, including freedom of speech and of the press, freedom of peaceful assembly, freedom of association. Habeas corpus is the right to challenge unlawful detention by the state, comes from English common law. The Constitution of Canada was amended in 1982 to entrench the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Charter attempts to summarize fundamental freedoms while also setting out additional rights. Queen Elizabeth II declared the amended Constitution in Ottawa in 1982. The Charter attempts to summarize fundamental freedoms while also setting out additional rights. The most important of these include mobility rights. Canadians can live and work anywhere they choose in Canada, enter and leave the country freely, and apply for a passport. Aboriginal peoples' rights. The rights guaranteed in the Charter will not adversely affect any treaty or other rights or freedoms of Aboriginal peoples. Official language rights and minority language educational rights. French and English have equal status in Parliament and throughout the government. The equality of women and men. In Canada, men and women are equal under the law. Spousal abuse, honor killings, female genital mutilation, forced marriage or other gender-based violence are all crimes in Canada. Citizenship responsibilities. Obeying the law, one of Canada's founding principles is the rule of law. No person or group is above the law. Taking responsibility for oneself and one's family, getting a job, taking care of one's family and working hard in keeping with one's abilities are important Canadian values. Work contributes to personal dignity and self-respect, and to Canada's prosperity. Serving on a jury. When called to do so, you are legally required to serve. Serving on a jury is a privilege that makes the justice system work as it depends on impartial juries made up of citizens. Voting in elections. The right to vote comes with a responsibility to vote in federal, provincial or territorial and local elections. Helping others in the community. Millions of volunteers freely donate their time to help others without pay, helping people in need, assisting at your child's school, volunteering at a food bank or other charity, or encouraging newcomers to integrate. Volunteering is an excellent way to gain useful skills and develop friends and contacts. Protecting and enjoying our heritage. Defending Canada. There is no compulsory military service in Canada. However, serving in the regular Canadian Forces, Navy, Army and Air Force, is a noble way to contribute to Canada and an excellent career choice. You can serve in your local part-time Navy, militia and air reserves and gain valuable experience, skills and contacts. Young people can learn discipline, responsibility, and skills by getting involved in the cadets. You may also serve in the Coast Guard or emergency services in your community, such as a police force or fire department. By helping to protect your community, you follow in the footsteps of Canadians, before you who made sacrifices in the service of our country. Who are we? Canada is the only constitutional monarchy in North America. Our institutions uphold a commitment to peace, order, and good government, a key phrase in Canada's original constitutional document in 1867, the British North America Act. A belief in ordered liberty, enterprise, hard work and fair play have enabled Canadians to build a prosperous society in a rugged environment from our Atlantic shores to the Pacific Ocean and to the Arctic Circle, so much so that poets and songwriters have. Aboriginal peoples. The ancestors of Aboriginal peoples are believed to have migrated from Asia many thousands of years ago. They were well established here long before explorers from Europe first came to North America. Diverse, vibrant First Nations cultures were rooted in religious beliefs about their relationship to the Creator, the natural environment and each other. Today, the term Aboriginal peoples refers to three distinct groups. Indian refers to all Aboriginal people who are not Inuit or Métis. In the 1970s, the term First Nations began to be used. Today, about half of First Nations people live on reserve land in about 600 communities, while the other half live off reserve, mainly in urban centers. The Inuit, which means the people in the Inuktitut language, live in small, scattered communities across the Arctic. Their knowledge of the land, sea, and wildlife enabled them to adapt to one of the harshest environments on Earth. The Métis. About 65% of the Aboriginal people are First Nations, while 30% are Métis and 4% Inuit. English and French. Canadian society today stems largely from the English-speaking and French-speaking Christian civilizations that were brought here from Europe by settlers. English and French define the reality of day-to-day life for most people and are the country's official languages. The federal government is required by law to provide services throughout Canada in English and French. Today, there are 18 million Anglophones, people who speak English as a first language, and 7 million Francophones, people who speak French as their first language, while the majority of Francophones live in the province of Quebec. The Acadians are the descendants of French colonists who began settling in what are now the Maritime Provinces in 1604. Between 1755 and 1763, during the war between Britain and France, more than two-thirds of the Acadians were deported from their homeland. Despite this ordeal, known as the Great Upheaval, the Acadians survived and maintained their unique identity. Today, Acadian culture is flourishing and is a lively part of French-speaking Canada.